Hello and welcome to another edition of Josh Wants to Talk About Movies. I'm recently a cat owner. So about a week ago I just came into possession of a new furry companion during quarantine. Her name is Carmela. She's about 4 years old. She and I have been hanging out together and it's been great. Being a cat owner is very new for me, so if you have... Oh, that's her. So if you have any suggestions or any tips or anything like that, please let me know. She's like right here. Hold on, I'm gonna try and pick her up. Hey. This is her right here. She's 4 years old and she loves belly rubs. She's very calm. If you have any tips or any suggestions for a new cat owner, I would greatly appreciate it. Alright, you want to be put down? She wants to be put down. In the last video, also side note, thank you so much for liking and commenting on the video. It really means a lot to me, just having a general sense of discourse and conversations on the channel, and I really just hope to keep that going. So anyways, in the last video I was talking about how I would do a separate video about the Clone Wars movie, and during that time between the review and now, have my opinions changed on the movie? I guess maybe? So Star Wars The Clone Wars is an animated film created in 2008, directed by Dave Filoni, that is set in the Star Wars universe, mainly between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, as it follows the titular characters from the prequel series, Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi, as they fight off against the Separatists and a newcomer comes along. So right off the bat, you're probably wondering whether I genuinely like the film or not. And if I have to be honest, there are some genuinely good and interesting moments within the film. Right off the bat, I have to give it praise for essentially creating the blueprint for what would be the Clone Wars series by bringing back the same artistic style and bringing back the same voice actors and utilizing the same creative team. So without the movie and the financial success that came from it, we might have not even gotten the series as a whole. So I think that needs to be said whenever this movie is brought up. Another fun thing to watch about the movie is just the action set pieces themselves. It's always fun just to see how the Jedi interact and how they fight, especially with the limitless potential that is animation. There's definitely moves in this movie that Anakin and Ahsoka and Obi-Wan are able to do that I doubt would have looked good or in the least bit realistic-ish if done in live action. So with animation, they were actually able to utilize the medium to create some interesting set pieces and action sequences. Another fun thing I like about this movie is just Zero the Hutt. I know the series dives a bit more into his character, but it's always just fun to see Zero interact with other characters. He's such a fun Hutt to listen to because he's got this debutante voice going on, and it's always hilarious to hear some giant slug creature talk like a Southern belle. One thing I like about the Star Wars franchise as it continues to go forward is its ability to bridge the gap between different periods of the timeline. So whenever I see a bridge connecting the prequels to the original trilogy, mainly Jabba the Hutt and Jabba's Palace, I think that just creates a stronger foundation for the franchise, and it makes me appreciate it more, and it gives me a better ability to see it as a whole timeline rather than different sections. So like I reiterated before in the last video, the main gripe I really have with this story is two things. One is that it's not really a movie. It's more or less just 3 episodes back to back on each other. It's like taking one of the series episode storylines from one of the seasons and just editing it into one giant movie. The main reason why I think that's a negative for me is that it kind of takes away a lot of the weight of the story. If it essentially is just point A to point B, point B to point C to point D, it doesn't really have a lot of dramatic weight to it. Nothing really changes or nothing is really changing about the characters. It's more or less just looking at a day in the life. And that kind of just makes it harder for me to get emotionally invested. A good example of this is my second gripe, which is that Ahsoka and Anakin kind of resolve a lot of their conflict in the first third, essentially the first episode of this whole story arc. Of course, Anakin is surprised that he's given an apprentice at all, and he struggles with the fact that he has to A, fight the Separatists and the droids, while B, also teaching a Padawan that is kind of talking back to him. While Ahsoka comes from a completely different background and is struggling to A, become a Padawan, and B, successfully create a relationship with a master that she's still trying to figure out. This on its own is a great idea. I love it. I think it really helps create a bond between these two characters, and I think that conflict would be great if it was developed over more screen time, but they kind of just resolve it, and they kind of go into like this married couple style bickering for essentially the rest of the movie. I mean, as fun as some of the quips are, and there are a couple of fun quips, it just doesn't have the same dramatic weight to it. Also, another just tiny gripe that I had that I didn't mention in the last video, but I kind of want to bring it up here. So whenever the clones are fighting the droids, it seems like the droids are always standing in place and shooting. They're always marching in a line, and they don't hide for cover, which makes sense because they don't have any sense of self-preservation because they're droids. The issue I have is, how are the clones losing if the droids never hide for cover? Or in a better way of phrasing it, how are the clones missing? They're standing right there marching towards you. How are you not hitting it? Now in the movie they make a point of bringing up the ray shield, but I guess if I'm extending this gripe to the series now, there are just moments where they're just droids marching along a line and the clones are hiding for cover and shooting, but there's a lot of times where you can see them clearly missing. But how does that make any sense if the droids are not hiding anywhere? Now I'm also bringing up the fact that I'm basically putting this complaint on the super battle droids and the battle droids. I'm not talking about those weird ninja-like assassin droids that they show later in the season, because those guys actually move around and are hard to hit. I'm talking about the basic-ass battle droids and super battle droids that are just standing there and firing. I don't know. Again, that's just my small gripe, very tiny gripe within this movie. Also, another thing, and I brought this up in the last bit, again, I'm very confused on why they show Jabba having a child, even though he's never brought up in any of the future movies, and he's not even once mentioned in the show. And this is the pilot episode to that series of episodes, so they had the ability to bring up the kid, but they never did. And that always confused me. Also, did Jabba mate to have a kid? I don't want to think about that. Anyways, those are my thoughts on the Clone Wars movie. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. Also, I just want to let you guys know, if you have a movie suggestion or a movie that you want me to talk about, please leave in the comments and I will take a look at it. Alright, she wants to be put down. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. If you want to follow me on any of my social medias, you can follow me on my Instagram, username here, where I do a daily post called Day in the Life of JRI. So if you want to keep up with whatever I'm doing, you can do that there. Alright, well, thank you so much. Like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next episode.